One of my followers, Katie, has written to me and she said, when are you going to do a video that tells us what to do when we're pulled back towards a narcissist? She goes on to say, I felt so free, but then I secretly didn't want to feel free because I wanted to linger patiently and wait for things to change. It's so confusing, she says. Well, Katie, I know exactly how you feel, and I remember how confusing that was, and I remember even more how intense the pull back to them is when you leave them. So I promised you I would give you a video, and here it is. Here's my top 5 tips to stop a narcissist sucking you back in. Number 1, I would say, ask yourself really honestly, what are you waiting for? You know, I was like you. I knew in my head that I had to leave for my well-being and safety. But in my heart, I still loved him. I didn't want to leave. I secretly wanted us to be a family. And I had this vision in our head of this wonderful future that we were going to have together. And it's why I went back again and again, because I kept waiting and hoping for things to change. And it is actually why most people go back to abusive relationships. On average, it takes, I think, 7 times to finally leave, because you go back and you go back and you're constantly waiting and hoping for things to change. And it's a bit like childbirth, because when they smother you with that love and those promises to change and they're remorseful, you forget about the bad immediately. And it just feels so great because you've been so low for so long and feeling so much pain after abuse and after leaving them, that it feels wonderful to have that intensity of love back again. So I know exactly what you're feeling. And I think it was Albert Einstein who came up with that quote, or apparently it's Albert Einstein, who said the definition of insanity is repeating the same behavior over and over again, expecting a different outcome. So really ask yourself, what are you waiting for? A narcissist will promise you the world. They will sell their own grandmother if they have to get control back over you. They'll promise you everything you want to hear, and they may even mean it for a time, but only as long as it takes to get control back over you. But what happens when you've gone back and you've felt that brilliant high again? Really ask yourself, Katie, what are you waiting for? Have they ever changed in the past? Have they ever accepted responsibility for their behavior enough to take control over it, so to seek help, to work on themselves for long enough to really, really change? Are you clinging on to the fantasy, that vision that you have in your head like I did? The fantasy of what your relationship might be like one day in the future? Or are you seeing it for the reality and the way it is now? There's a really clear distinction between the two. You need to let go of the reality and see the relationship for what it is right now. And really also ask yourself, if it is you're waiting for him to change, what if he never changes? Are you okay, and do you deserve spending a miserable amount of years waiting for this to happen, and waiting in the hope that a happiness might come someday in the future? Is that what you're waiting for? I think you deserve better. Number 2, cut contact. I know I keep saying this, and I will keep on saying this. Narcissists have to feed their ego by being in total control And the more you pull away from them, and the more they know they risk losing you, the greater their need to control you. So they will up their ante and they will manipulate you to the degree which you've never experienced before. All that hoovering, which is that sucking you back in with remorse and promises to change. It will just go up a notch, it will go stratospheric. And it works, It does pull us back. And they're really great at making us feel guilty, about what's going to happen to them if we leave them. Forget about us. What's going to happen to them? Or you're not giving this enough of a chance. You're being cold when I'm being so loving. All this stuff that they come up with that feeds our doubts over our decision and makes us weak and makes us convince ourselves that if we just give them another chance, maybe then it's going to change. This time it's going to be different. And they convince us that they're the only ones who are going to love us, that we'll never find anyone who loves us as much as they do, and all of this stuff. But you know what, Katie? This is not a healthy form of love, and as hard as going cold turkey is, and I know you feel that pull towards them, cutting off the source of what is that drug-like high to us is the only way to get rid of that craving for it. The relationship may feel great when you go back to them, but only for a short time, because the relationship is no good for us. And the pain will come back. Without question, it will return. And I think you know that already, because you even said the words, "I felt so free," which tells me that you know that already. And I think you'll also know that those highs will get fewer and further between, and the lows will get lower and lower. So you're waiting for this thing to happen. You're waiting for this change to come. But all the while, you're suffering lower lows and more pain that you don't deserve. A friend of mine said to me, leaving an abusive relationship is like a plant. Just stop watering it. And it was really good advice for me, because it was the hardest thing I've ever done. That pullback is so strong. But if you stop having contact and you just cut the ties, it really hurts, I know, but it will eventually lessen. If it's like a plant and you don't water it, it will wither. I promise you. Number 3, write a list of all the reasons you left. I think you already know that relationship is no good for you, because, as I said, you're using the words, "I felt free." Now, you don't use those words when you're talking about a healthy, loving relationship. I would never want to be free. Oh, sorry about my cat. I know every time I do these videos, she goes off on one. And everyone thinks I've got a baby. Yeah, at my age. Anyway, I'll go back to it. Just ignore the cat. She's completely crazy. She's very old and she's demented and all that. Write a list of the reasons you left. You know it already. You're saying, "I felt free." So those reasons still stand. They were very good reasons and they still stand. So write them down. Write down everything that they say that hurts you. Write down all the behavior that's unacceptable to you. Write down all the things they said that made you feel bad and really, really hurt. Just write all them down and stick it on the fridge if you have to. Read them every day if you have to, especially when you feel weak and you feel that pull back to them. And then write another list. And write a list about all the things that you really do want in a relationship. What are your core really true values and goals that you would like to share with someone, that you'd like to have in common with somebody. In fact, write down all the things that you don't have in common with your ex, because I bet you $1,000,000 you love them, but there's not a lot you like about them, and there's probably a lot of things you don't have in common. So let's now start building a list of the things that you really want to have in common with that person. I want to like them. I want to laugh at the same jokes. I want them to be somebody who, if I am celebrating something that is a success in my life, a career promotion, whatever, that they celebrate with me. They're happy for me. Whatever it is, write down a list, because you deserve better. And remember that. Say to yourself every day, I am enough and I deserve better. And always remember that the longer you stay in an abusive relationship, the harder it is going to be to leave. So write a list of the reasons you left. They still stand. And just never forget them when you feel that pull back to you. Then number 4, focus on you, not them. Now this is a really, really, really important one, because I know what you're going to be doing. If you're like me, you're going to be obsessing over all those text messages from the past. You're going to look at old emails. You're going to go over those tapes in your head. Oh, if only I'd said this and I'd done that, then he wouldn't have done this or that. He wouldn't have got so angry. And while you're doing that, you're wasting your energy, because you can't change them. You can't rescue them. Nothing you said or did in the past worked. So why do you keep fooling yourself, thinking it's going to, and that it's up to you to change your behavior to get a different result? Only somebody who wants to change themselves will change. And they haven't. And trust me, if they're a narcissist, they're very unlikely to in the future. So instead, focus on you. Do one nice thing for yourself every day. Start practicing habits that put you first and your well-being first. Even if you don't love yourself now, the more you do it, the more you do nice things for yourself every day, the better you will get at it. And do what I did. Absolutely pour over self-help books. Buy whatever you can. Go onto Amazon, look for these self-help books. There's millions of them. You know, Women Who Love Too Much was something that changed my life. Daughters of Narcissistic Mothers, whatever. Find those books that will, A, teach you how to build your self-esteem, because that is crucial. And B, help you to understand the dynamics of a relationship with a narcissist, so that you can really understand what happened to you and why. I can't tell you how much knowledge is power. So focus on you, focus on your healing and your learning, and take your focus away from obsessing about them. Do not start any more sentences with he this or she that. Anything with he. Now it's about I and you. Now it's your time to heal. And then the last one, really important one for me, join a support group. You can't do this alone. You know, narcissists will suck you back in with everything they've got. And they've already whittled our self-esteem so low that we believe that we're deserving of that abuse. And we believe them when they say no one ever is going to love us again like they did. So it's no wonder that we are weak in the face of that manipulation. So don't try and do it alone. Join a support group. That's what I did. I've listed domestic violence resources helplines on my blog, www.beingunbeatable.com. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, I will put the link in the blog if you're watching this on my blog already. They are there, and they are free, and they are incredible. Because there's women and men who have been through what you're going through now. And those ones that were a little bit further along in their recovery than I was were incredible at giving me advice and tips and just things I needed to hear to help me stay strong. And that's how I got through it. When I was feeling weak and I felt that pull back, I went to another support group meeting. I called one of them up and said, help, I'm weak, I want to go back. And they were amazing. Surround yourself with friends that you really, really trust and who know what you've been through and don't judge you for it. And also go on Facebook groups. There's loads of them. They're closed groups or they're secret groups that nobody will know you're part of. And again, it's others who've been through what you've been through and can really help you when you feel weak, because you can just compare notes. What did you do? And that was what changed my life, knowing that I couldn't do it alone. But I really want to add a word of warning. I don't want you to go and use them as an excuse to just dump on them and do that. He this, he that, he said this, he did that, he was like, you don't want to do that. As I've said before, you're not going to start your sentences with he this or she that anymore. I want you to only go into these support groups or Facebook groups or talking to your friends with the attitude that they are there to help you become a better you, to help you find strength and to distract you from doing what you want to do, which is to run back into that destructive person's arms. So use them in a positive way, not as a negative pity party where you wallow feeling sorry for yourself and blaming your ex for the rest of time. That's not going to make you heal. So that's really my word of advice to you, Katie. I hope that's been helpful. I just want to tell you now to stay strong. You can do this. You deserve better. And you are enough. You are always enough. And don't forget that I'm here too. I've been through what you're going through. And I thank you so much for emailing me with your question so that I can do this video especially for you. So if anybody else has a question that they want to ask me, please drop me a line like Katie did and I can do a video especially for you as well. And Katie, I'll just say one last thing, which is time is your best friend. I know that you're feeling that pull back to them, and I know that you're waiting and hoping for them to change. But stay strong. Don't go back. Those reasons you left still stand. And you will feel freer than you've ever felt before if you break this cycle and you stay away and do not get pulled back into their manipulative tactics and their abuse. It might feel like you're in the darkest of tunnels right now, but just the fact that you're asking for help and you know this relationship is no good for you means you're taking your first steps towards recovery. You are walking towards the light.